Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. I hope everyone has had a fantastic Easter weekend, Easter Monday, whatever it is you celebrate. I know there's a little bit of controversy with, all these different holidays that get assigned to the random day. I hope everyone's had a good day. I do. Today is April 1st, and ironically, Dakota pulled an April Fool's prank on himself. Yes. Does not take much for me. As some of you know, at my regular civilian job, I do work the nights. And Dakota forgot to set himself an alarm for this. Yes. So, that aside, how is everyone? Today happens to be April Fool's versus Groundhog Day. Oh, right. Lawrence Dots, how are you? Pika 96 on through one of our Trovo pages. How you doing? I think I said that right. What is going on for today? Well, as I just said, today happens to be an anniversary. Yes. Back in October, the Bald and Bonkers Show entered its terrible twos. And, ironically, a company called Bald and Bonkers was formed and officially set on paper, all the legal headache, well, most of it, settled on April fucking Fool's Day. It was meant to be. Now, first off, I wanted to sort of address something. A little bit of fuss that was started on last night's episode of the Bald and Bonkers Show. Towards the end, those of you who've followed us for a while may know that Chris and I did put out a little bit of a notice that some old contacts of ours have started to come out of the woodwork trying to resurrect something. And we had our suspicions that these individuals may try to cause some trouble. Well, we called it. Now, admittedly, Chris and I did kind of go back on our word to avoid talking about the situation again because, quite frankly, the entire ordeal is about as messed up as breaking it off with a toxic ass ex significant other. And admittingly, our approach to the ordeal hasn't been the best. The situation was something that a lot of personal emotions got in the way of. And naturally, we could have handled things better. Right. Hindsight is 2020. Hopefully not like the year 2020. So some days it fucking feels like it. And admittingly, it took Chris and I not that long to realize who this individual was. It was rather obvious. It was one of the main reasons why we wanted to avoid stepping back into those old shoes. Because we had our own little trust issues. And it seemed like this individual was determined to try to set off tempers in order to stir this whole mess around again. So, after some careful thought, I reached out to the main individual behind Chris and I's former ties, try to approach it more diplomatically. I brought the concern up to them. As some of you know from previous broadcasts, some rather serious, very, very serious allegations involving criminal charges are involved. I'm not going to go into details. However, in the light of this, there are still innocent people caught in the middle of this who are already in a bit of an emotional turmoil, having to go through with this. And it's something I relate to on multiple accounts. Having relatives of mine who are still serving time in prison. Last I checked, their chance of parole would be around the time I'd turned 40. But then, according to little rumors I've heard from the gods, that's not likely going to happen. So, an approach was reached because I was not going to play a game of telephone. It seemed that this individual had a habit of twisting certain facts and eventually revealed themselves a little later on by attacking yet another channel. It was exactly who we thought it was. And the mutual decision was reached in writing. So in case anybody decides to try to say otherwise, to call a truce. It was all drama. Things were said. People were hurt. Things could have been handled better, but too late to dwell on that now. Possible further collaborations may come forward. The offer was presented. It should, and it still stands. I'm a man of my word. Should certain aspects of this get cleared up properly. But speaking as businessman to businessman, this was the best approach to go about, simply because it wasn't going to look good for anybody. We're trying to move on. We're trying to do something better. Bald and Bonkers may have its slow waves from time to time, but it's the nature of the beast. We're moving on. Things are actually doing a hell of a lot better than I anticipated, to be completely honest. And naturally, we have all sorts of fun little goodies, such as this collaboration with a movie studio we are partial owners in, that lets us be able to share a few announcements from a certain captain of the Star Trek Enterprise.
Hello, Legion M movie fans, and I'm one as well. You know, some of my earliest memories are from watching movies in the theater. In fact, it was my love of going to the movies that inspired me to leave home and pursue my dream of becoming an actor. That's why we're releasing our new documentary exclusively in theaters on March 22nd, which just also happens to be my 93rd birthday. Please check out the trailer and then come and join us for the celebration. It's an interesting phrase, go boldly. What is there to boldly go into?
You're William Shatner.
You can call me Bill. Do we ever present ourselves as we really are? to somebody else? Can we be absolutely honest? As we get older, we ask ourselves questions. Do we really know each other? Do we really know ourselves? Why are we here?
Let's go get some answers.
Risk. Risk is our business.
Everything's risky, but there's something beautiful about that.
I'll face whatever you have behind those doors and come out exactly as I went in.
I haven't changed the world. But what is a legacy are the good deeds. Go boldly. Go with courage. Go with commitment. That's what it means. And then boldly go into the next adventure. That's the story of my life. It's the search for love, symmetry, and passion. That curiosity is what keeps us alive.
So, check your local listings for You Can Call Me Bill. Keep a close eye on the credits. If you stay through, you might see me. And yes, messages have been sent towards Shatner's publicity team to try to organize potential interview, being that he does occasionally like to do shows on the supernatural and all that. And obviously, nothing's come to fruition because most of y'all who've been watching us for a while know Chris and I would be all over bragging about it. But why do we have those connections? Obviously, like when we revealed it, I think it was last weekend, that we had this connection, and I received the promo material to help share it out. Because, while the little troll from last night made one somewhat valid point, that it is hard to be taken seriously when it's so easy to falsify information, especially with how good AI programs are getting these days. Admittingly, I've used some AI programs to work on some of the more creative aspects of the company to help speed up the process, keep things relatively cheap for a small startup such as myself, such as Bald and Bonkers. And the results have been well received. But I've also tried to make the effort to ensure that if artificial intelligence was used, to simply state it. Because the one thing that is more unfortunate when it comes to talking about certain things we talk about is that sort of behavior detours so many people from stepping forward to tell their story, whatever the situation may be. In some press interviews, Shatner, who is actually not only also a shareholder within Legion M, but one of its main business advisors. The reason why he decided to go forward with making a documentary about his career was because, well, ever since Leonard Nimoy died, and I didn't realize he was 93, goddamn, he knows he does not have much time left on this earth. And he's trying to live out his final days the best way he can. Just do what he loves. Share the stories. Legion M, when I got into it first off, way before Bald and Bonkers became a thing, presented itself as a movie studio owned by fans, and it's maintained that vision ever since then. And in case anybody tries to say something, to the best of my knowledge, none of the, shall we say, none of the more unfortunate aspects of showbiz have entered the ranks. Because the first rule within Legion M is no assholes. But naturally, trying to put things like this together, a lot of work has to be put into it. And being that, legally speaking, I'm the only official member of Bald and Bonkers, everyone else is legally considered freelancers, those who've signed any paperwork. That was to help maintain our own liberties as well as keep costs down while we're still building. And at times, it can get stressful when the masses of uneducated individuals try to stir up troubles and all that fun stuff, as well as the workload. And I'll admit, as some of you have stated before, I've done just that and allowed myself to get stressed out. So, a couple adjustments have been made that I feel would be beneficial for everyone who wants to somehow take part in this wild and crazy adventure we have going here. While, yes, Bald and Bonkers was found on the idea of discussing supernatural topics, giving people a chance to come to a spot that uses humor and simply uses humor to level the playing field. No one here stands above one another. Because let's face it, no matter what field you go into, people who physically want to take on managerial positions should probably be given some sort of psychological evaluation, because it does seem many bosses are simply in it for the ability to treat other people as lessers. And I'm not okay with that. Believe me, there's people at my civilian job I've clashed with because they tried that bullshit. And when that mentality of treating others as lessers, for whatever reasons there may be, it brings out the worst of humanity. It does. It separates us. When in reality, we need to do more to come together. So, in that spirit, some of you know about the memberships that we had offered through Patreon and YouTube. Well, the Patreon page was serving out to be more work than it was worth. So we killed it. It is no longer up. The little shop that was made available to access all of our ebooks for simply $3, which was Patreon's limit, has been taken down just to kind of streamline the process. However, we want to keep that accessibility open. While the subject was initially built on the foundation of the supernatural, I turned Bald and Bonkers into something that would allow people to learn how to share their story no matter what it may be. There's some business courses, there's books out there. Lulu! Ow! Anyway, I don't know why I just went on pitch. As I was saying, there's books. We're working on getting potential movies out there just to figure out ways to help people level the playing field and explore their own stories. As some of you may know, the memberships we had included courses. So I got to thinking, those courses could probably do a hell of a lot better without being behind a sort of paywall. And that's what we're doing. Starting today, all courses from Bald and Bonkers will have a short period where they'll be membership exclusive. Basically, from the time they're first uploaded to the channel until more can be done to help promote and get them readily accessible. All courses by Bald and Bonkers will be free here on our main YouTube channel. Now, let's say this. We are still a business. We are still trying to run things. We're still trying to fund some big projects. So try to keep it as accessible as possible. I know they're annoying. I can't really control how many ads they decide to slap on them. But another partial announcement. Some of you may have noticed this already. Ad revenue will be turned on for videos that are from Bald and Bonkers themselves. So any of our pre-recorded shows, any of our specials, stuff like that, our courses, they'll likely have some ads tied to them. Interviews, I will state this, interviews where we have guests on will not have those ads. Those slots are specifically reserved for that person to share their story. Now, in the event something gets messed up, because let's face it, it's not that hard. This channel, the main Bald and Bonkers channel, is actually regularly updated. It is set up to automatically connect and redistribute every single video we post on here through Rumble, completely free. I will try to be working on easier distribution points just to help make these courses more accessible. It's just finding the right material, so to speak. And as far as the books, we're still offering the ebooks for low cost. They can't get much more low cost than free. Taking advantage of the Internet Archive, which is a website that hosts a lot of PDFs, a lot of music, stuff like that, a lot of materials that, in the spirit of creating an online library, all of our ebooks will be made. Well, I should say most of our ebooks published through Bald and Bonkers will be made available here. Now, we're going to, being the nature of some of the projects that are in the lineup, where there may be a little bit, how should I say, saucy? Those won't necessarily be made available, but they're not any of the materials we're putting out to try to help educate people, to try to get stories to be told. And right now, as it sits, there's a couple more that are going to get put into the lineup, whether it's business, music. We even have a bit of a story collection of kids' books that's getting ready to come out. Stuff like that will be made available on this link. As well as Bald and Bonkers produced music. Yes, we're making our own music. And in the spirit of trying to help content creators, or anyone for that matter, try to avoid the ever so annoying copyright flags that Facebook and YouTube are particularly bad about. While yes, we have a number of distributors that help us get this music out to all major platforms, steps were taken to purposely allow people to be able to use this music freely. They'll be able to remix it if they like, to edit it to better fit whatever projects they may have, without having to worry about getting flagged for copyright. A couple people and I were talking about this earlier, about how bad YouTube can get, especially if you're not careful about what materials you select. I'll tell you, I've been flagged for copyright on shit I'm fucking made. So it's a bullshit setup. It's just a bad setup on their end. I'll say that right now. It's a pain in the ass, and people who created the music are getting in trouble for using the music that they created. So we're doing our best to try to avoid that as much as possible. Using the Internet Archive link, you will be able to find the music there. We're also going to start slowly working on getting all the courses there as well. We want this stuff to be as accessible to as many people as possible. Yes, it may have the Bald and Bonkers logo slapped on it. And yes, in some ways, that may affect profits. But this is about helping people tell their stories. Now, if you're the type that prefers to have a physical book in your hand, so that way if someone goes to make fun of you for what you're reading, you can just simply close up the book and whack them with it. Physical copies will be made available. And if you go on to baldandbonkers.net, there's a page set up on our website that has links, that will have links made available shortly, of how you can get copies of the books directly from our printing partner. So you're not having to necessarily go through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever online bookstore, or maybe even physical store. I've heard a couple people say they've spotted our books on physical bookshelves. Those will all be made available for even cheaper than what those stores will cost you. So if these books are something you're interested in, we got you covered in as many ways as possible. They are made available globally. Simple as that. One of the first courses that is going to be made available will show people how we redistribute the podcasts, which is why sometimes we don't necessarily show everything that we should on the video side of things, because it gets repurposed into the audio format and the show gets several times longer if you're having to sit there and explain everything like you're talking to a blind person. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's about finding that balance between discussion, education, and still entertainment, so people aren't bored out of their fucking minds. Because let's face it, who doesn't have some kind of ADHD traits these days? And that is something that if you want to bring in audiences, tell your story, that's something you got to take into consideration. Now that the the European side of the pond is on their daylight savings and we're back to being 7 hours time difference, it's going to be a little bit easier now to bring in some guests. And I put out some emails to some fan favorites, as well as to some new faces that may bring some interesting perspectives. So while there may be some bumps in the road, we ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Let's see. I think that just about covers it. Oh, I should probably tell you when the album's physically released. Let's see if I can get my notes here. While you can go on now to Internet Archive and download those songs and start using them, more is going to be uploaded to it very soon, much like the protection meditation I put together in the event you run into any particularly nasty beings. Again, that's also been made to where it should not get you flagged for copyright. It should, being the emphasis. See, this album, it's called Creator Mix #1. Well, the pre-orders are available now. They'll be available through iTunes. Let's see. iTunes, Adapter, Amazon, Boomplay, Deezer, Hello June. It'll also be made available to use on like Instagram and TikTok as well. So, if that's something you're interested in, we're going to start pumping out a little bit more. Let's see. I think that's it. Oh, I didn't say the fucking album release date. The album will officially be out as a digital download come April 16th. And again, the pre-downloads available through Internet Archive. You could probably get access to a lot of our stuff months before it's officially out in physical copy. So, you can get yourself a little sneak peek at what's to come before everybody else in the world does. Make yourself feel like one of the cool kids. Anyway, I do believe that's it. Much love. Take care. See y'all next time.